I like to go back to the instant offense of why we're here. What was in your mind and what were you on and what were you thinking when you actually pulled the trigger that killed this fellow that had the cocaine?
Well, it's just that he had something that I was just really self-centered. He had something that I wanted. And truthfully, there was no plan to go up there. I really just, really acted of my own accord. I had somebody with me and nobody said, do this, do that, or whatever. So, but I knew I didn't have any money. So I guess the intention was supposed to be to rob him, but I decided, to pull the gun out and start shooting. And just really stupid, and just senseless. My life, was like that then.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a woman who killed her dealer, shot him 5 times back in 2002, sentenced in 2004 to life without the possibility of parole. Now, she made it to Governor Edwards' 56. Those were 56 inmates that he granted a commutation of sentence right before he left office from October through December. She's the only woman on that list. So before we go and watch this parole hearing, we're going to take a blast to the past 11 months before this date to watch her commutation hearing. I'll unpack it in the middle and then we'll go through back to the present day to see the outcome. And with that, let's jump in.
So, Ms. Bennett, you were sentenced in January 2004 in the 21st JDC Livingston Parish for second-degree murder, for which you received a life sentence, and armed robbery, you received a 99-year sentence. Those sentences are running concurrently. You were sentenced in January 2004. Is that information correct, Ms. Bennett?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Marabella, please?
Good afternoon, Ms. Bennett. How are you?
I'm okay.
How old are you at this time? How old are you?
I am 47,
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
about 21 years.
Let's talk about what happened. Tell me how you got involved in this murder and robbery.
Well, at that time in my life, I didn't really have any form of a life at all, really, to be honest. I basically didn't have a job. I couldn't hold down a job. My whole life consisted of doing drugs or being around people doing drugs. And
By my calculations, you were about 26 years old. Is that right?
25.
25, 26, somewhere in that area. Okay. How far had you gone in school?
I had got my GED in I think 91. So I had a GED. I had taken a couple of courses at Southeastern, but I didn't really do very well because I was skipping a lot of class and, just kind of ignorant, pretty ignorant, sir.
When did you start using drugs? You mentioned drugs. When did you start using drugs?
At 18,
What kind of drugs were you using at 18?
I started with marijuana. I think I tried acid, just experimenting. And
How long did you use drugs?
7 years.
Uh,
And from 7 years, that just escalated to a downward spiral.
Were you using drugs at the time of this offense?
Not at that moment.
Up until then, I mean, were you a regular
Oh,
drug user at that time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell me how it is you came to, I've read the report and I've listened I've seen your statement. So first off, explain to me what your relationship was with Lucretia Simmons and how you got involved with her and how you ended up robbing and killing her, looks like ex-boyfriend.
Okay. Well, I met her through my cousin, Lucretia Simmons, and we ran for a while, and she became my girlfriend later. Okay, off and on, because
How did you meet?
Sir,
How did you meet her?
through my cousin, Joette.
Y'all did drugs together?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And our relationship was very unstable, it was off and on. And I was out with her that night, and she decided she was gonna call him. And I really don't know what her intention was. She gave me the gun, so I was under the impression that she wanted to rob him. And but I think that because she didn't know I was gonna kill him, and I don't even really know if I.
Now, in your written statement, you said that your girlfriend called in and she wanted you to, y'all were gonna rob him and you were gonna kill him. She wanted you to kill him. Now, is that true? I mean, where did all of that come from?
I don't remember her exactly saying those words. I just kind of implied it by her calling him and giving me the gun.
And what did y'all call, what was the purpose of meeting him? What was the pretense to meet him?
She was gonna have a transaction with him.
Were y'all really looking for drugs from him that night?
Yes, sir.
So she called him. You did, in fact, want drugs. You both decided you were going to rob him. And whose idea was it to kill him?
I don't think that she mentioned killing him. I'm the one that killed him, sir.
I
Me.
understand that, and the record reflects
I
that.
don't think she knew I was going to do that. And
So let me ask you this: why did you kill him?
I think that I was really just, I felt like he would retaliate against me. And I felt like he was not going to let that go down. I mean, I don't want to sit and say I panicked, because at the end of the day, I did that,
Well, tell me what happened in the transaction. I mean, how did it come about that you pulled a gun? What did you take from him, and what prompted you to kill him so he would not later retaliate against you?
I wasn't inside the car when they were talking, so I really don't know. But at that moment when I decided to do that, I didn't give him a chance. He never knew what was happening. He never knew what had happened at all. I didn't give him a chance, because once I pulled the gun out, I started firing.
And what did y'all ultimately get from him?
I never saw it, sir. She had whatever it was in her hand. I know she had some crack cocaine.
And what did y'all do after?
She started screaming, and we went to Holden. That's where we were staying at in Holden. So we went back to Holden.
And she ultimately pled guilty to manslaughter and actually was released at one point, got rearrested, and I think she's back out again. Is that right? To your knowledge, do you know that?
I don't know, sir.
Have you had any contact with her or any relationship with her at all?
No, sir.
Were y'all still together in a relationship at the time of this shooting and killing?
I thought so.
Now, prior to this, I didn't see anything in your record violence. This is the first act of violence that you had. I mean, you had some property crimes and you had a few drug crimes, but never a killing. I mean, what prompted you to kill this man that night? I mean, I heard what you said, but I'm still trying to wrap my brain around why you would kill this guy.
I think I panicked.
Well, I mean, you say you panicked, but she was outside the car. Was he fighting with her or doing her anything like that?
No, she was sitting in the car with the door open.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was at the other car at first. But whenever I walked over there, I walked up on her side. That's when I pulled the gun out. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and blame it on something that they were doing or their relationship. I did suspect that, but
So you thought they might be trying to get back together?
It's possible.
Well, now that you've been in prison for 21 years and you've had a lot of opportunities in time to think about what happened that night, what are your thoughts about what happened? Can you know, what do you think now happened back then? I mean, you may not have known what you were doing back then or can't really explain why you did what you did, but what are your thoughts about what you did back then? What do you think about
I think that it was a brutal, senseless act. And there's no defense for it.
Where did you get the gun from?
She gave it to me.
She gave you the gun. You had the gun before? Had you ever had a gun before?
No, sir.
You never owned a weapon, never had a weapon? That was the first time had you ever fired a weapon before?
I think at one time I had maybe a 12 gauge shotgun when I was younger, a little younger.
And you were not doing drugs that day, you said. So you're not going to suggest that you were high or anything like that when it happened.
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty. You're being very honest with me. I do appreciate it. Let's talk about what you've done while you've been in prison. And I have read your record, and you've done a lot of substantial things. I'd like to talk about those things. Tell me, let's first talk about your drug problem. Can we both agree that you're a drug addict?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Let's talk about what you've done in reference to what sort of programs you've taken or what sort of help you've gotten to deal with your substance abuse issue.
Well, I have taken, the normal routine classes that they offer, like the anger management, substance abuse. I've taken substance abuse a couple of times, but at one time I even had the opportunity to facilitate, and it really wasn't something I was open to. But when I did do it, I don't know, it changed my mind.
Well, let me stop you for a second. When you say substance abuse, are you talking about AA type, the 12 steps, or what sort of
Nope.
substance abuse
No,
are you
sir,
talking?
I'm talking about living in balance is what I
Okay.
used to
All right, okay.
facilitate with. But they do kind of go over the 12 steps. But I've also I just started, when I got a date, I started trying to think of things that I could do on the outside, the transition. And I have started. I remember my mother going to AA meetings, and I don't know, for some reason I had the wrong idea about it. I actually enjoy the NA and the AA. And at first I was saying I didn't need to go to AA, but I realized, yes, I do need to go to AA, because before I started doing drugs, I would sneak around and drink. I don't even think anybody knows I was doing that. But I realized that, yeah, I do need to go to AA. And a lot of times we put rose-colored glasses on about ourselves, but I realized I wasn't being very honest with myself. And I realized that a lot of that too is deciding to self-medicate is because I don't know how to deal with my problems. I don't know how to deal with my own personal issues. And it's been a journey. I'm not gonna say I think it's gonna be a lifelong journey, so.
What would be your sobriety plan when you got out? Would you continue to go to AA meetings? Is that something that you think you need to continue to do?
Oh, certainly, I would have to. I mean, I'm not as ignorant as I once was. I realized that just because you get out of prison doesn't mean everything's gonna be great. Life is stressful anywhere you are, and you have to have a support system. And not only a plan, but you need to have a support system. People, we weren't made for isolation, and that's one of the things I have learned. I used to be so quiet when I first got to LCIW, but I really, one thing I do now is I tend to talk maybe too much. But
You and I get along pretty well.
But just rein me in if I don't answer your question, okay, if I get out.
You're doing fine. Let's
All right.
talk a little bit about, you've done a lot of work in the faith-based programs. Talk to me a little bit about your work with the New Orleans Baptist College and the things that you've done there.
I love the seminary. It was very emotional because what it does is yes, it is about God, but it's also about you learning yourself. It gives you the tools, honestly, to be able to recognize, like, I learned a lot about trauma. And when we took the counseling classes and the trauma classes, and I started realizing some things about myself, even here recently in the last couple of years, that I was, you know how they say the nail on the forehead? The most obvious things, sometimes we overlook them, but we try to find the root of some things and we go all around the bush. But the main thing in seminary that I got was I learned to really examine myself.
You mentioned earlier when you were talking about looking at yourself and trying to learn exactly who you were, and is that the sort of thing that's helped you do that?
Yes, sir.
Now, I understand that you are also a tutor. Talk to me about your instructional work and number one, what you do, and number two, what you get out of what you do.
Well, I've always wanted to learn how to weld, maybe because my stepfather was a welder, and that's how I learned how to iron, was ironing his shirts. And I like working with my hands. I also enjoyed working in maintenance too for a while. I got the privilege of coming here whenever we first evacuated. We came here, I was in the first 54. I didn't think that I would be coming here because I just assumed I had it all figured out, and the long-termers would go to hunt and the short people would come here and get this place ready. But they pulled us immediately to start welding and stuff like that. And that was actually, we evacuated right whenever I became a tutor. So we had a class at that time, and I feel like it's a privilege to have, first of all, have some program like welding, because it is traditionally dominated by men. And I like the fact that a woman, you're imparting something to them that is going to make them successful. They got ladies in my class right now that they don't have family. They don't have anybody out there to support them, whenever they do go home. And that's why I keep trying to just hammer things into them as much as I can. I've learned so much just through growing and growing up. And it's something that you have to purposely do, because if you don't purposely choose to grow and to pass on what you know, and in here, of course, we have things where people compete for jobs and this and that or whatever. But to me, I feel like it's a privilege to get to be in there helping people to be successful.
Let's talk about a little different subject.
Right.
What have you, if any, thought have you given to the family of Mr. Griffin for what happened to you?
Yes, I have thought. I took a woman, her husband, from her, and I took these children. I took their father from them. He left and then he never came back. And I don't have no defense for it.
I understand you're a member of the JCs as well, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You're a member of the JCs?
Yes, sir, but we had to change, we had to break from the charter though. Because they kept writing and wanting to get money and money and money, but we still do the same things, but we changed our name to the Jazzy Jays, but
All
it
right.
is still the same thing.
Now, my notes reflect, you also have your paralegal certificate?
Yes, sir.
Well, you worked on a lot of things while you've been here. What do you think is the thing that is, and you have really explained a lot of what you've done. So just tell me what you think is maybe the most important thing you've been able to accomplish while you've been here.
Well, I used to think, I mean, I would probably say seminary. I would say, but I really think that it's the opportunities that I have, like with, I don't know if you know, are familiar with Kairos or just like NA and AA, where you have groups, small groups. I just feel like being in one and being accountable to people and being open with people. I just feel like that. I was so quiet when I first got to LCIW. So I had to learn through things like the JCs and all that. And I had to break out slowly, you know. But now I'm the one that reins them in, you know. So I think that for me, learning to be that person, to love me.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your transition plan. I see Mr. Myers is here with Louisiana Parole Project. It's tell me what your plan would be, assuming you get some relief and you get out soon.
Well, I've been accepted by the Louisiana Parole Project, and that's what they specialize in, is people like me and people that have been down for a long time. And I mean, truthfully, everything will be a new experience for me because I mean, I never knew how to function, you know. So I am gonna just entrust myself to them so that they can teach me everything I need to know.
And that's perhaps long term, but that's temporary.
Yes.
What would you do after that? What are your hopes and thoughts after that?
Well, I have a lot of family support. You know, I want to go and start putting some. First of all, I look at my mother too. That's another victim of mine because I'm not there, and I have a 70-something-year-old woman supporting me, and that right there. I mean, if there's something okay with that, there should be. You know, I have a problem with that, and it should be me trying to take care of my family and help them, and trying to help other people like me. I want to be able to tell my story, and I want to utilize some of my skills that I've learned. I want to put them to good use, and I want to try to be even better. I don't want to stop what I've been doing, though. I really would like to go to some more school too, to be honest.
You're very young. I can tell you 47 is very young. You've got a lot of years. You've got a lot more to be able to do. Warden, what can you tell us about Ms. Bennett?
Yes, Dawn is minimum custody, and like we kind of laughed before, she sometimes talks too much, but that's a good thing because that's why we have her as a tutor. So she's very good instructor. She's very useful to us when it comes to welding instruction and heavy equipment instruction. And she really does fight for her students, which is great for us, that we can see that she really wants the students that are in her classes to succeed as well. So I think that's something she probably wouldn't say because she doesn't see that as something being important. She knows that's part of her job, but she really takes some ownership in that. And she really has a great disciplinary record, no issues on that end. And like she mentioned with Parole Project, but I know Mr. Myers is on as well, if you guys have any other follow-up questions on that end.
Thank you, Warden. I appreciate you coming. Madam Chairman, yourself.
Okay, thank you. I made a note, Ms. Bennett, after I reviewed your record. It says, and it's read the letter. You sent us a letter. It says her letter shows she was living wild, pillow to post, drugs, no stability. Was that an accurate assessment?
Ma'am?
Was that an accurate assessment?
Oh, of me at home? When I was at home?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted to check. We'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. We have here with us Frankie Babin, who'd like to speak. Okay. Parole Project, Carrie.
Good afternoon, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Ms. Bennett is maybe one of the most self-reflective people I've ever come across, and you can see that she's done a lot of that. In addition to that, she's done a lot. She's accomplished a lot during her incarceration. Not only because of classes, we understand that we may be prepared to take that as a long-term plan. To make sure she has, we know she's loyal. We make sure she has the rest of her evaluations or studies, all the recommendations, all the standards, we'll make sure she follows the recommendations that come from that. But it's something she should do. We just keep you all covered. I want to do it in mind. She's going to do that. So something that's one of the projects here. So for long-term necessary, we will find one people cover all those social skills that she needs at the time of her incarceration, and to get her life back out. And that's what we know, and that's what our government does. And so I just want to consider Ms. Bennett today favorably and grant her commutation.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll hear from the opposition. We have LaCoya Griffin, the victim's niece, who wants to speak. Ms. Griffin.
Imagine being an 8-year-old and you hear the only person that was a father figure in your life is never coming back. The first funeral you attend is his funeral. You don't understand why he's not waking up, why he just laying here, why I'm never gonna talk to him again. I couldn't ask the questions at home because they're not ready to talk about it. That's my mom's only brother. They parents, her mother was killed, domestic violence. It was only them two. So being young and only having each other, she wasn't ready. So an 8-year-old don't know why her uncle is never coming back. Then we go into listening everything today. I don't see no remorse. I didn't hear a sorry to the family not one time. I heard he left a wife and his stepkids. He didn't have biological kids. So that is the place I took all the promises I told him I'm gonna make it. And I hear we cheering on her accomplishments. Congratulations. But I gotta go talk to a headstone about mine. As I finish my master's program in social work, because I see the struggles my mama going through with not wanting to talk, can't get out her feelings. So I figured I'm gonna help the people who like her that won't talk. She's not gonna talk to me because I'm her daughter. So I'll keep kind of pushing. She had one time now I try to push. I told her we're gonna go do family therapy. I'm trying. The same way we go through all that, the things that's going on, it's taking a toll on. I'm gonna take 2 to 3 anxiety pills a day just to get through. The anxiety pills at night has to be stronger so she can sleep through the night. Losing a mother and your brother to gun violence, all she has is 3 kids. We have no other family members. So all she has is us and her 3 kids. My youngest sister just made 17 Friday. My brother is 26, I'm 27, I'm 28. Every time we leave, she feels her kids are going to, she's going to get a call, gun violence. So she tried to keep us sheltered. She tried to keep us sheltered into her eyesight. And I tell her, we have to go learn, we have to go look. But then I look and then I heard the story, you know, what happened. I knew my uncle wasn't hurt nobody. He never hurt nobody. I mean, he's a native veteran, so He would know if he wanted to hurt somebody. So all I heard was you just walked up there, you just shot him. For what? She had the drugs in her hand and she wanted them. So what was the reason to just leave them there dead? You didn't hear no screaming from the car. You didn't hear no fighting from the car. You just walked there and you saw them. They still talking. They had a conversation. It was nothing. So it couldn't say he was buying the drugs. He gave it to me. And then intent you was gonna rob her for it. But he gave it to you. That's the type of person he was. He would give you the shirt off his back. He would do anything anybody asked him to do. And I can remember like it was yesterday. I was on the 8th. But I just remember her getting that phone call and she stormed out of there. And everybody was just so hurt when she came back and nobody would tell me what was going on. And to this day, I'm just not hearing the story. She didn't do anything. And I'm just like, so what was it? Why would you kill an innocent person who didn't do you nothing? So I'm just like, as I graduated high school, I graduated college. I'm going to graduate again next year. I only have my mom and my siblings to congratulate me. I don't have, everybody sitting here, you did this, you did. I have my mom and my siblings. But when I have to go to that cemetery and I'm talking to the headstone, this is what I did it for you. Because you had gave me no promises. If I go, I reach for the stars. Do whatever you know you can do. And that's what I do. I do it for him. So I just don't feel like when they went through this case and we're putting the blame on this one and we're putting the blame on that one, they both took part in it. The other person did her time, but her sentence was the life in the 99. And I just don't, with us still being in that same area, even when I'm moving to Baker, so you come out and you come to Baton Rouge Parish, I hope to move and get a job in social work in Baton Rouge Parish. I would hate to have to turn down the case for stuff like that. And then Livingston Parish, this is where this took place. That's right there at the St. Helena Parish. My mom's still working in Livingston Parish. She worked at Little Springs. She would hate to walk into a Walmart and still have to see the person who took everything she had. We just don't agree with it. And that's all.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. I think the district attorney wants to speak, Mr. Parole. I see it.
Good afternoon. I'm Tamika White. I'm the Victims Advocate Coordinator. Mr. Parolu was prepared to speak, but he was called away on a case in court. So he was just in opposition, and we agree with the victim's family that Ms. Bennett should not be released.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. All right. At this time, Ms. Bennett, is there a statement you'd like to make before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. Everything that young lady said, though, she was right. And she was absolutely right. And I've been learning a lot about that in that victim impact class. And I apologize. I'm sorry if I come off as not being remorseful to their family and those children, and I'm only asking for grace and mercy, and I'm not trying to say I deserve it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mirabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank everyone who spoke today, especially the young lady who spoke. I do appreciate the comments that you made. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. It was a senseless killing. There's, even after we talked today, it didn't make sense why it happened. But all of the crimes that we have that come before us oftentimes are senseless. And that's one of the things that we look at when we make the determination. One of the roles of the parole board, of the pardon board, is to look at the person who now sits before us, not necessarily the person who was the person who committed this crime. as I sit here today and hear you talk about who you were very honestly to us about who you were and who you've become and how you've become that person and why you've become that person. It seems to me that you really have benefited from your time in prison. You have learned to trade. You have learned how to deal with your substance abuse. You have a plan to stay sober when you get out. But you continue while you're in prison to help your fellow inmates. Good comments from the warden. Got a new life in your faith-based programs. You've got a good disciplinary record. You've got a good transition plan with the Louisiana Parole Project. You do have opposition. There's nothing you can do about that. Law enforcement opposition as well as the victim's opposition. And I understand that. And I know where they come. I understand that. But based upon all of the work that you've done, I vote today would be to recommend to the governor that he commute your sentence to 42 years. That would be my one of four. So, Madam Chairman, that would be my vote.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Your story is very enlightening. You have learned a lot in prison. And there's also victims in this matter that will, they'll never get their uncle back or their brother back. But the bottom line is, I do think you're not a threat to society, and my vote's also to community service for us.
Mrs. Jackson.
First, I do want to thank everyone who participated in the hearing. I appreciate you being here, and I listened to what you had to say. But I agree with my colleagues. I believe Ms. Bennett has demonstrated that she no longer poses a risk to society, and she's accomplished a lot. And so my vote today would be to grant her commutation for 42 years.
Thank you. I do agree. I think you've come a long way. I don't think you're the same person who entered prison over 20 years ago. I'm impressed by your community service work that you do among your communities. So my vote is the same. My vote would be to make the recommendation that your sentence be commuted to 42 years. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
So as you know, the governor signed off on it, and we are going to fast forward to the present day to watch her parole hearing. It takes place just 11 months after her commutation hearing. So the commutation hearing was 8/14/2023, and now she's up for parole 7/9/2024. It's anything but a shoo-in. Remember, it's a new governor, a new parole board, which the governor handpicked, and there's no loyalty to what the previous governor signed off on. And we have been seeing denial after denial after denial when it comes to these parole hearings, something that you wouldn't get normally if it's the original governor. Of course, right, you're not going to have a parole board recommend to the governor to commute, the governor commute, and that same parole board then deny parole. It happened, but very rarely. It wouldn't really. The governor would say, why are you telling me to sign off on a commutation and then denying parole after I sign it? This is a different story. It's a new governor. It's a new board. For the most part, there are some, like Mr. Renatza and Mr. Friedman are still there, of course. Before we go and watch that parole hearing, I do want to go over the case. I think it'll be helpful. Sometimes I wait till the end to go over the unpacking. Sometimes I do it right in the middle. Let me know in the comment section what you prefer. I think it kind of makes sense just to get more clarity on what happened in this case, because let's just go over it. So And of course, you can just fast forward to the hearing if you just want to go through. I'll try to keep this under 5 minutes. So thank you, Sir Richard, for providing this information. So a jury convicts a woman in drug killing. That's what they called it. And this is, so a jury convicted a woman Wednesday of murdering the man she testified sold her narcotics and started her on the use of crack cocaine. The jury took only 40 minutes to reach its verdict, which is like, I don't know. Is that the fastest like in the history of court cases? 40. They didn't even wait for lunch. Second degree murder of armed robbery against Don Bennett. Okay. Bennett said on the stand that she killed him, Griffin, who she said was the drug dealer and who got her started on Pepsi 4 years ago. Defense attorney Wayne Stewart suggested in jury in closing arguments that Griffin got what he deserved. Can you imagine taking that? That's the approach. But, we've seen, that's what they're trying to play it off. He was the dealer, got her hooked, and so he got what he deserved. The young woman remained composed on the stand as well as during the reading of the verdict. And when the deputies placed handcuffs on her and led her from the courtroom, which is interesting because she seems very composed now as well, right? Like I see that. She's composed. She took the stand in her own defense. She said she shot Griffin last year during the drug transaction across the street from 7th Ward Elementary School near Denham Springs when he grabbed her companion. What did you mean to do when you shot him 5 times? Prosecutor asked Bennett. I meant to kill him, Bennett answered. She testified that Griffin, let me use my quiet mouse. She testified that Griffin, I have 2 mice. One is quiet, so you can't hear me clicking anymore. She testified that Griffin, who she had known for 4 years, introduced her to Pepsi and was her only source of the narcotic. She said that the narcotic was very addictive and she wanted more after the first time she used it. It makes you feel good, but it doesn't last very long, Bennett told the jury. She said she unsuccessfully tried to quit using crack several times. Okay. Bennett testified she is sorry Griffin is dead and has thought many times about what she could have done that evening. How about not shoot him? Griffin's wife testified that Griffin was sometimes sold drugs, received a cell phone call. That night, he was killed and left shortly afterward. Bennett and Lucy Simmons met Griffin in the parking lot near the school, but didn't have money to pay for the Pepsi. They took the dope, they shot him, Detective Chuck Watts said, asked by the Stewart for any evidence that the woman robbed Griffin. Watts said he traced the last cell phone call to a cell phone later found in the possession of Bennett and Simmons when he and other authorities arrested the woman in La Place a week after the shooting. Authorities also found the murder weapon beneath the mattress in the bedroom where the women were staying. Wow, not the brightest. Watts said he knew the brand and caliber of the pistol he was looking for because of the grooves of the barrel left the bullet after the scene. Detectives checked theft reports and found theft of that type of weapon. That also helped lead detectives to the woman. Charles Watson Jr., forensic scientist at Louisiana State Police Crime Laboratory, testified he was able to identify the brand and caliber of the weapon on the night of the shooting because the distinctive markings left the bullet found at the crime scene. When Hubert introduced a 9mm pistol into evidence, members of the jury passed it around, some handling it gingerly while others examined it closely. Do they do that? Do they hand around the weapon for juries to hold it? The attentive jury followed page by page through copies of transcripts that Herbert played a tape statement between Bennett police on the day of her arrest. Herbert questioned Bennett about why she said nothing in a statement about Griffin's alleged attack on Simmons. Bennett said it was because the detectives didn't ask her. Wednesday afternoon, she testified that Simmons and Griffin argued after Simmons got in her car with the Pepsi. Bennett said Simmons tried to get out of the car, but Griffin grabbed her by the arm and wouldn't let her. That's why I went over and shot him, she said. I felt I was in danger, and I felt she was in danger. There is no self-defense in this case, Herbert told the jury in closing arguments. Bennett was sitting in another car with a gun. She wasn't defending herself. She wasn't defending Lucy. She may have been defending her own narcotic problem. They set him up, he told the jury. Second-degree murder carries mandatory life sentence without the possibility of probation, parole, or sentence. Simmons, 32, still awaits trial on charges second degree. So is the story similar to what she said? You can't hold her liable for what she says in trial versus what she says in these hearings. Nothing to hold against her, but I don't know. It sounded like she just wanted to steal it. And it's interesting, but it's, you know, do you think the remorse was authentic and then she had a good hearing? Anyways, let's go to the parole hearing and see if there's any differences. And with that, let's jump in.
Okay, good morning. Welcome everyone here, and my name is Steve Prater, and I'll be acting as the chairman for Cheryl Renatza, who is absent today. We'll hear from Dawn first, and tell us, Dawn, why exactly we should why should we consider parole for you?
All right. Well, first of all, it's a privilege to even be at this step right now. So I'm thankful to be here, to just to get to speak to y'all and be heard by y'all today. I committed a very serious crime, and I devastated a family. I left a man's wife. You know, I murdered this man really in cold blood in a robbery. I really just didn't even, it was very impulsive. I was in the state of mind I was in. I served no purpose in my life, and I did drugs. I never lived as a productive citizen, at that time. So I committed this act. I devastated their family. I robbed him. He was a young man. He was only 27 years old. And he had a niece, and he had a sister that, was left with I didn't, know some of these things until my last hearing, but it devastated their family and even put, under more stress and things that sometimes you don't know when you make a decision how it's going to impact people and how it probably still impacts me, but I have over the years began to work on myself, because when I came to LCIW, like I told you, I didn't really know anything. And since being at LCIW, I have found out a lot of things about myself, not just gifts, and just learning how to work and getting a work ethic, and learning how to be an adult, and to also do a little bit of really like evaluating of myself and realizing that I needed to make some corrections. And I mean, I started on this journey making these corrections while I was at LCIW, but I know it's going to be a lifelong journey, and so I really just want the opportunity to be able to have more access to become better, a better person, be a member of society, a productive one. I've been so self-centered and taken so much, and I would like the opportunity to give back some of that. So I don't want to overtalk y'all, because sometimes I talk too much. But I mean, I know it's a gift. It's grace and mercy, because I don't want to ever take from the fact that I committed a very serious act.
Okay, I appreciate that statement, and we'll ask you some questions in a little bit, but not right at this particular time. I seem to always forget to make sure that we're talking to the right person. So for the purposes of the recording is why I'm doing this, but you are Dawn Bennett, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And your DLC number is 477-041. You, date of birth is 6/23 of 1976. Your first felony offender, in jail for armed robbery and second-degree murder, and your sentence has been commuted to a total of 42 years. Is all of that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure you're talking to the right person. Warden, tell us what kind of inmate this has been, that Dawn has been.
So Dawn is one of our minimum custody inmates. She is extremely helpful to staff around here, in the sense that she's one of our tutors. So she works very hard tutoring in our welding and heavy equipment classes. So she spends a great deal of time teaching others, and she really has a gift for it. She's a great facilitator and teacher. She participates in JC's Lifers Club, drama club, so she keeps herself busy just even when she's not working around the facility. She has a great or exemplary DB record. She has not had a DB report since 2011, I believe, so quite a bit of time. I know you received, I won't go over all of them, but she has kind of a book of certificates. So she really has done well. She stayed focused. She has really kind of made a change for wanting to improve herself, whether self-help or educational purposes. I know her intention is to go and live and work with the Parole Project. So I know Mr. Myers is on as well. He can give you a little bit more detail, but I know that's been a pretty solid plan for some of the other individuals that we've had released for a transition piece.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I guess, Carrie, did you want to talk first? Or Ms. Hutchinson?
That would be fine, Mr. Prater. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We were there for Dawn's clemency hearing. We're here today because, frankly, we believe in her. Her trajectory since entering prison has been nothing but up the entire time. Her work ethic, her to consider all of Dawn's achievements and grant her parole today.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Ms. Hutchinson?
Typically I do a closing after the interview. Did you want me to do it before the interview today?
Yes, ma'am. We've kind of changed up a little bit.
Okay.
And we like to be the last ones to do our interview as the board. And then as soon as we've done our interview, then we vote, because we're kind of the magistrates or the judges. And so we've just kind of changed the rules a little bit on that. We have the supporters and then opposition, then us. And so, so it's your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So with a unanimous vote, Dawn was granted a commutation of her life sentence to 42 years by this honorable board. The reason cited by the board at the time was Dawn had benefited from her time in prison and found a new life in her faith-based programming. The board deemed that she no longer posed a threat to society, and they were impressed with Dawn's community service work. Today, I would like to briefly go over just some of the key factors that were going on in Dawn's life at the time of the crime that she has since addressed fully, making her ready to re-enter society. First off, Dawn has been sober now for over 20 years after almost a decade-long addiction to some very harsh drugs. She now has an understanding of her triggers and what she needs to do to remain sober. At the time of the crime, Dawn was undereducated. She has since earned an associate's and a bachelor's degree in Christian ministry and has numerous certifications in welding, heavy equipment operation, construction crew leadership, and construction site safety, which enhances her ability to earn a living wage and to maintain gainful employment, something she didn't have at the time of the crime. She's found peace in helping others and is no longer willing to be the young woman she was in 2002. She's tutored others to obtain their GED and instructed various construction classes, her favorite being welding, which I'm sure she'll talk to you about. She's also been able to address her relationship issues and the violence that ensued from them in her anger management and domestic violence classes. Today, she has learned that trauma is no longer the defining principle in her life. She has learned how to establish meaningful relationships and has found her voice in advocating for others. She has maintained an exceptional institutional compliance record in the past 20 years. She's only had 3 disciplinary infractions, which I believe indicate that she can be a rule follower if released into society. She has a low Tiger score, which indicates she has a low risk of recidivating. And as she did at the beginning of her speech, she acknowledged that over and over again, how just remorseful she is and regrets the actions of taking Mr. Griffin's life. She acknowledges her recklessness and that she's devastated both the family and the community. And she's spoken already to how truly sorry she is, or how truly sorry she has been. You've been able to hear from both the warden and Carrie about the reentry plan that she would have with the Louisiana Parole Project, who is willing to and able to facilitate a structured environment that Dawn would need to continue to be successful. In August, when she came before the board, she proved both her maturity and rehabilitation and was granted that commutation of sentence. She's continued to show to today that she can remain on that track. So we just humbly request that she be allowed to rejoin the community and be given a second chance with any stipulations that this board deems necessary for her continued success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, Don, this particular case, the way we do this is that each of the three of us get a certain number of cases, and we're kind of the lead interviewer on that case. And so your case is mine, so I have a few questions, and then we'll turn it over to them, see if they have any questions, or a few things I want to point out. It doesn't appear that you got a lengthy criminal history, a theft and 2 possession of marijuanas that were both dismissed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let's see, of course, the sister of the victim and the wife of the victim, they are adamantly opposed to your release. The DA and the sheriff issued an opposition, but theirs is just a blanket policy of opposition. They didn't, it's just one of these, they just say we oppose to all of them. So we don't necessarily, if there's a blanket opposition, we don't necessarily take that into, we don't give that much, I don't give that much credence. I won't speak for the board. Okay, your sentence was originally life plus 99, and then it was commuted to 42 years. And you've served 20, how many years have you served?
22, I think.
22. Okay. And you were 24 at the time this occurred. Were you, I assume you were on crack cocaine at the time, correct?
Yes, sir, among other things.
Tell us about your state of mind. Tell us about your state of mind, because I like to go back to the instant offense of why we're here. What was in your mind, and what were you on, and what were you thinking when you actually pulled the trigger that killed this fellow that had the cocaine?
Well, it's just that he had something that I was just really self-centered. He had something that I wanted. And truthfully, there was no plan to go up there. I really just, really acted on my own accord. I had somebody with me and nobody said, do this, do that, or whatever. So, but I knew I didn't have any money. So I guess I was really, the intention was supposed to be to rob him, but I decided, to pull the gun out and start shooting. And just really stupid, and just senseless. My life, was like that then. It would just go from getting high or doing drugs, smoking marijuana, doing nothing. Then I might go get a job. I might have a little cycle where I do good, but I just had no purpose or no real understanding of my life.
Okay. And you have your bachelor's degree from New Orleans Baptist Seminary now, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. You have any questions?
What kind of, you say you're teaching people now to weld and handle heavy equipment?
Yes, sir.
You can operate heavy equipment?
Well, I did get to, we practiced on the simulator, okay? And a simulator, it's actually a little bit harder because when we got the real equipment, it was so much easier to do it. So it's like you really create muscle memory, but they don't really let us run around much on equipment and drive stuff here, because this is a women's, penitentiary. But I'm quite eager to, get some skills on it. I was pretty good on the simulator.
Oh, I
And
see.
I did good when we had the live equipment, so, you know,
So that's the type of work you try to get once, if you're granted parole.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do at first. I understand when you go out there, you're not gonna just have, you know, there's a lot that I don't know and I don't understand, and I got a lot to learn. I'm gonna be really, really busy. But I mean, I would love to, of course, but I know there's certain things you gotta get for some jobs, like TWIC cards and stuff like that. So I just have a lot to take in, but I mean, I may have to get a job doing, you know, something even as a laborer, you know, at first, and that's okay. Just to be able to job.
That's good. That's good. I have no more questions.
Okay. My question goes back to the same thing Mr. Prater was asking you about the time of the offense. You know, y'all went over there with no money.
Yes, sir.
The guy just wasn't gonna give it to you. You know, at
Exactly.
what point you decide the best course of action for me is just to kill this man. Did he say something? Did he do something? Did he resist giving y'all the cocaine? Or did you just all of a sudden just decide it's time? You told us at the beginning, you've been thinking about it since the day it happened. Tell us,
Yeah.
tell, that's a big
Yes.
part of,
Yeah. And because whenever we went over there, I knew we didn't have no money. I didn't really know him personally. The lady I was with did, you know, and she got in the car with him, but I guess the intention was really to maybe rob him because I knew we didn't have no money. But it was me that got afraid I had the gun. And I was afraid because I felt like if I rob him, he may come and retaliate against me. So I more or less panicked, you know, and I decided then.
but he never said a word to y'all?
Well, he was talking to her. I'm not sure what he was telling her in the car. I wasn't really privy to that conversation.
All right. So
So let me ask you this, why did you kill him?
I think that I was really just, I felt like he would retaliate against me, and I felt like he was not gonna let that go down. I mean, I don't wanna sit and say I panicked because at the end of the day, I did that, you know.
Well, tell me what happened in the transaction. I mean, how did it come about that you pulled a gun? What did you take from him? And what prompted you to kill him so he would not later retaliate against you?
I wasn't inside the car when they were talking, so I really don't know. But at that moment, when I decided to do that, I didn't give him a chance. He never knew what was happening.
tell me about your community service work that you impressed the last board with. What is the exact nature of it? What are you doing for the community? And that they were impressed with? I heard your lawyer say something about that.
Oh, about the, well, tutoring is, sir?
Community service stuff you're doing for, be helpful with.
Well, around here, we have a lot of, events that go on here for the prison. You know, they have a, Easter extravaganza, they have a Christmas extravaganza. I have been allowed the privilege to get to volunteer to help, and I say a privilege because, you know, not everybody, you know, gets to go help, so I feel like it is a privilege, and just work with the children. A lot of times I'm running like the sound, I learned how to do that, you know, at the prison. In the chapel, whenever we had a nice chapel over there at LCW, I was the sound tech for at first, you know, and then I got a little help. We would have performances sometimes, put on things for holidays, you know, and just stuff like that, being involved and being around, you know, the people. We got a lot of young people coming in now, and it's just trying to keep them busy, trying to give people something to do, just trying to be, talk to them, you know. Other than my job though, of course, I love it because you got people that come through there that, at first I really didn't feel like that. I looked at people that would come in and out of here. I felt like, hey, these people make all the rules that we got to live by because we, if you have a long time and you can get an attitude about it sometimes. But I found though that these people, I'm able to look outside of me now and care about the next person rather than, what does it benefit me? I did have that attitude for a long time, but let me see, church. Oh, I did learn how to play a little music too for church and stuff, and playing the piano and stuff. That's the kind of volunteering you mean.
No kind of community service for outside, everything was done inside?
Well, they don't really allow us to go out. We have donated money. The clubs that I've been involved in, we do like to donate money for we used to donate for a women's battered shelter and stuff
Okay.
like that. You ever heard of the JCs?
Yeah.
The Junior Chamber of Commerce. Well, our club was called the JCs at first, but we ended up splitting from the charter because they kept demanding these excessive amounts of money or whatever. So it was just kind of fishy. So we kind of split off. But we still do the same things. We just we changed our name to the Jazzy J's. But the clubs they used to let us donate a little bit, but they don't really let us get a whole lot involved with outside stuff.
All right, my last question is, we talked a lot about your record in jail and what you've been doing. The parole project did a job, we got certificates. Is there anything else that you want us to know about that you've been doing that you think is good before we take a vote?
Well,
That's it all. It's all out. So if it's all out, it's all out. If there's something else. I just didn't want you to leave here and say, well, maybe I should have said that, maybe this didn't get in.
well, like I said, I'm only asking for grace and mercy. I mean, I can't change what I've done. All I can try to do is change me and reach out to other people, and not be so selfish. And that's really all I could think of. I think that everybody covered everything. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Okay.
All right, any more questions? Ready to vote?
Executive session.
Executive session. Okay, we have a motion to go into an executive session. We will not be long, I promise you that, but we need a vote to go into, and we will not be taking any votes back there. Okay, we've got a motion to go into executive session. I concur also, so it's anonymous. We'll go back here, so.
All right, so Danny Bauer,
Yes.
Chuck Taylor,
Yes.
Steve Prater.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so this executive session actually is one of the longest we've seen. I'm not sure why, but it goes for 8 minutes. I'm going to fast forward that, of course. Now, what do you think? Do you think they're going to grant? I mean, it's an interesting parole hearing when you don't hear the victims come up and speak in opposition. You hear that they are opposed. I really like that the sheriff brings up how meaningless the blanket opposition is. Remember, that's coming from the sheriff. He once brought it up when another police department, even just the police department, saying they're in opposition. He's like, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's a blanket statement, which is so true because we see them oppose people who've been locked up for 50 years for, minor crimes. And they're like, we oppose. Well, that makes sense. So anyways, you think they're going to grant? Do you want them to grant? How do you feel about this? Let's find out.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call.
okay, need a roll call to get back out of executive session.
Okay, so Steve Prater,
Yes.
Chuck Taylor,
Yes.
Danny Bauer.
Yeah.
Okay, we will reconvene the actual parole hearing right now for Dawn Bennett. Dawn, it's time to vote, and since I was the one that was the lead and interviewer on this, it's my vote first. So my vote is that you be granted parole with the condition of spending a year with parole project. Excuse me, parole project. That's my vote. And just for the purposes of the record, never mind. That's it. I was gonna explain about the victim, but I'm not gonna do that this time. Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and concur with Mr. Prater on the granting of parole, but I'm also gonna require a special condition that while at the parole project, you submit to a substance abuse and mental health evaluation, and that you follow all recommendations for treatment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you need one more vote.
Warden, I want to commend you on the program that you're doing there. I think you're doing a lot of help. Ms. Bennett, I think you have a lot of, I think you're doing a good job up there. You've made a big change, and you've convinced me that you're going to be a better person. So my vote is to grant. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All
Thank you,
right.
sir.
Thank you, board.
Yes.
You did. All right.
Okay, so there you had it. They granted. And how do you feel about this? I personally, I'm personally for it. It's like, if you're gonna grant to anybody, wouldn't you grant to someone who was guilty of this crime after they served that amount of time? I mean, for offing your dealer, I don't think she tried to make any excuses. She just said that she, I don't know. I know that it's okay to have different opinions. We encourage that on the Mandy channel. We don't want to be an echo chamber. So if you feel differently than me, put it in the comment section. Now, remember, again, this is from the Governor Edwards purge list of 56. She was the only woman in this list of 56. And it's quite a long list. And there's a playlist below if you want to see all of those on the list. We are covering each one hearing by hearing by hearing. Sir Richard put it all together in a spreadsheet. I can share it with you. This is what it looks like. So as you can see right here, this is the purge list, and this is the only female on it. That's why it's in pink. That's what the color coded system. So when I finish this up, I highlight it as green so that I know that we did it. And I'll put in the date that it's done, 10/14/2024. I don't know when I'll show it to you. And as you can see, there's a lot of work ahead of us, but we're putting together a library, so to speak, of all this. And then what we're going to do is continue to follow the inmates as they get out and see how many of this 56 are paroled, how many get revoked. So if you want to keep tabs and you're still watching this hearing all the way at the end, an hour and like 20 minutes later, and you haven't subscribed, well, I don't know. You might want to do that already, but I'm sure that the percentage of you who are sticking this through are already subscribed. But put the notification bell on if you want to get the updates. I don't have anything else really to add to this. We've gone through it. We heard it, kind of an uneventful hearing really at the end. They don't really, I mean, I guess there's not much to it. She was an addict. She killed her dealer so they can get the stuff. And that really seems to be it. I don't know what more there is to it. Is it positive? Yeah. Anyways, so there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.
Imagine being an 8-year-old and you hear the only person that was a father figure in your life is never coming back. The first funeral you attend is his funeral. You don't understand why he's not waking up, why he just laying here, why I'm never gonna talk to him again. I couldn't ask the questions at home because they're not ready to talk about it. That's my mom's only brother. They can't bear. Her mother was killed, domestic violence. It was only them two. So being young and only having each other, she wasn't ready. So an 8-year-old don't know why her uncle is never coming back. Then we go into, I'm listening to everything today. I don't see no remorse. I didn't hear sorry to the family not one time. I heard he left a wife and his stepkids. He didn't have biological kids. So that is the place I took all the promises I told him I'm gonna make it. And I hear we cheering on her accomplishments. Congratulations. But I gotta go talk to a headstone about mine. As I finish my master's program in social work, because I see the struggles my mama going through with not wanting to talk, can't get out her feelings. So I figured I'm gonna go help the people who like her that won't talk. She's not gonna talk to me because I'm her daughter. So I'll keep kind of pushing. She had a hard time now. I try to push. I told her we're gonna go do family therapy. I'm trying. The same way we go through all that, the things that's going on, it's taking a toll on. I'm gonna take 2 to 3 anxiety pills a day just to get through. The anxiety pills at night has to be stronger so she can sleep through the night. Losing a mother and your brother to gun violence, all she has is 3 kids. We have no other family members. So all she has is us and her 3 kids. My youngest sister just made 17 Friday. My brother is 26, I'm 27, I'm 28. Every time we leave, she feels her kids are going to, she's going to get a call, gun violence. So she tried to keep us sheltered. She tried to keep us sheltered into her eyesight. And I tell her, we have to go learn, we have to go look. But then I look and then I heard the story, you know, what happened. I knew my uncle wasn't hurt nobody. He never hurt nobody. I mean, he's a Navy veteran, so he would know if he wanted to hurt somebody. So all I heard was you just walked up there and you just shot him. For what? She had the drugs in her hand and she wanted them. So what was the reason to just leave them there dead? You didn't hear no screaming from the car. You didn't hear no fighting from the car. You just walked there and you saw them. They're still talking. They had a conversation. It was nothing. So I couldn't say he was buying the drugs. He gave it to me. And then intent, you was going to rob her for it. But he gave it to you. That's the type of person he was. He would give you the shirt off his back. He would do anything anybody asked him to do. And I can remember like it was yesterday. I was on the 8th. But I just remember her getting that phone call and she stormed out of there. And everybody was just so hurt when she came back and nobody would tell me what was going on. And to this day, I'm just not hearing the story. She didn't do anything. And I'm just like, so what was it? Why would you kill an innocent person who didn't do you nothing? So I'm just like, as I graduated high school, I graduated college. I'm going to graduate again next year. I only have my mom and my siblings to congratulate me. I don't have, everybody saying here, you did this, you did. I have my mom and my siblings. But when I have to go to that cemetery, and I'm talking to the headstone, this is what I did it for you. Because you gave me no promises. If I go, I'll reach for the stars. Do whatever you know you can do. And that's what I do. I do it for him. So I just don't feel like when they went through this case and we're putting the blame on this one and we're putting the blame on that one, they both took part in it. The other person did her time, but her sentence was the life in the 99. And I just don't, with us still being in that same area, even when I'm moving to Baker, so if you come out and you come to Baton Rouge Parish, I hope to move and get a job in social work in Baton Rouge Parish. I would hate to have to turn down the case for stuff like that. And then Livingston Parish, this is where this took place. That's right there at St. Helena Parish. My mom still working in Livingston Parish. She worked in Good Springs. She would hate to walk into a Walmart and still have to see the person who took everything she had. We just don't agree with it.